and welcome to another podcast in our series on enterprise chatbots. I'm your host Enoch, and joining me today is Jagan Jami, COO at Accurate Software. He's a people leader and technology enthusiast with over 19 years of solving complex business problems through technology and innovation. Before Accurate, he was associated with some prestigious companies like Infosys and Microsoft. He also worked in various countries like the US, UK, Germany, and Dubai, and various other countries. Currently, he's working towards growing Accurate software into a large enterprise. Hyderabad has been his home for a couple of decades now. His wife is a government employee, and they're blessed with two lovely sons. When he's not working, you can find him running tracks and listening to audiobooks. Jagan, we're glad to have you on this podcast.
Thanks, Enoch. Nice to be here.
In this podcast, we're going to discuss about how AI chatbots are transforming the employee experience. A research by Jacob Morgan, author of The Employee Experience Advantage, reveals that most organizations that invested most heavily in employee experience were listed 28 times more in Fast Company's list of the most innovative companies. According to a report by Deloitte, nearly 80% of executives rated employee experience very important or important, but only 22% reported that their companies were excellent at building a differentiated employee experience. So, in this podcast, we're going to discuss about how AI-enabled chatbots can actually transform employee experience, and what organizations can do, to get there. So, Jagan, I'm going to have a couple of questions for you, and we need your expertise. Possibly, you can answer some of my questions.
Sure, Enoch.
Awesome. So, how are chatbots relevant in improving employee experience?
Sure. So, to understand that's I think that's a good build-up. As you see, a lot of business leaders are actually investing heavily on improving employee experience, and the results are there for seeing. We have seen, the Jacob Morgan report
Right,
clearly highlights what kind of advantages that companies are gaining through investing in employee experience, right?
right.
So if you see what is a chatbot, let's just start off what is a chatbot. A chatbot is simply a computer program that
Mhm.
attempts to simulate a human-like conversation via a text or a voice channel, right?
Sure.
A user can ask a chatbot a set of questions. It will respond in a human-like way. It understands the natural language conversation. A user can give a command to do a certain task, and the chatbot can perform that task. That's what a chatbot is intended to do, right?
Hmm.
If you look at evolution, what happened is you have seen this in this evolution of how a better employee experience can be provided. Employees have got web applications wherein they can easily get the data and content that they require in an enterprise.
Right.
Then that has been improved to make it as a mobile application where you're able to get the data, the same content and data at your fingertips pretty much whenever and wherever you want on the go.
Hmm.
And now it is going through a next level of evolution with the introduction of AI,
Right.
where the program is able to understand your natural language and is able to perform all these operations that, which would have been a little more cumbersome or cluttery when you are using a web application or a mobile application. So it's a
Right.
natural extension in the evolution of employee experience. That's how chatbots are actually gaining momentum in terms of being implemented to better engage the employees,
Hmm.
to be able to give them the ease of doing operational tasks, and to remove the clutter as a whole.
Awesome. Yeah, that's wonderful. So, what do you think would be the typical features of employee-facing chatbot?
See, ultimately, each of these applications primarily have to have those features that will help employees finally contribute towards the larger business value in an organization, right?
Right. Right.
So, what chatbots can do is they can help, number one, in a way where, because they are a natural language understanding programs, they can help with all kinds of questions that the employees have with respect to, let's say, their HR stuff, or their something happening on their IT support, something on the some particular data item that they require from the list of KPI that they have. So there are many features which will help. One, on the self-service side of things, that is definitely one. Second,
Right.
um, because chatbots are available on the standard messaging channels that are there in the enterprise, they could actually deliver the notifications required, be it a notification from your system or be it a top-down communication from the management or the organization as a whole. That way, the culture gets directly to the customer, to the employee in a very easier way, right?
Sure.
Third, I have seen a great impact of chatbots when they are used to be able to get data insights. For example, you're talking about a management dashboard that is available. I need a particular insight then and there. You could actually ask the chatbot about what's happening with the as simple as an uptime of a platform, or what is happening on the retention rate if I'm a HR manager per se, right? So you could use these to get these data insights very easily. So typical features of a chatbot,
Hmm.
apart from all the technical features of natural language understanding, ability to identify and personalize stuff for employees, and to maintain context of whom you are talking to, these are various features that chatbots are delivering.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm sure chatbots apply across different areas, or you would possibly have personas defined for these chatbots. So what do you think would be the personas for improving the employee experience
Sure.
from a chatbot
Yeah.
standpoint?
I think the persona is a great word you have used. Chatbot needs to be treated like almost like a colleague that is available in your department to
Hmm.
do to help serve employees, right?
Right.
So as as a natural extension to that thought, you can clearly see chatbots have a role to play in most of these operational functions,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
So in our experience of having implemented chatbot for a lot of these Fortune 500 organizations, we have seen chatbots having personas of an IT service desk, a HR service desk, or a HR helper chatbot, right? We have seen chatbots which are primarily helping with intranet. So intranets are these huge web applications that are available now on websites as well as applications, but the information is all scattered. So
Right.
if you have to ask something very nice, maybe yes, there is search, but you can actually ask a natural language question without worrying about exactly typing the same word that is required. So
Right.
intranet chatbots have been another persona that we have seen.
Hmm.
And finally, the chatbots that help get you data insights, we call them business intelligence chatbots,
Sure.
where they can connect to the existing data warehouses or data sources or data lakes, and get you the necessary insights based on the natural language question.
Got it. Got it. Sounds good. So you've been working on a lot of implementations, working on intranets, building chatbots, and implementing them again to drive employee experience. So can you share a few case studies that you have implemented, maybe around HR or intranet or BI chatbots?
Sure. I think that's. I think that this detail will help put a perspective to what I'm talking about. So
True.
let's talk about some of the personas we just mentioned. Let's talk about a HR chatbot.
Hmm.
In fact, we've implemented for one of the world's largest FMCG company a HR chatbot that's being rolled out across their entire organization. So what they have done is, currently most of these organizations have these BPHRs, which are primarily these HR functions which are responsible for helping employees with information related to their leaves, or policies, or benefits. So all these HR related questions that come to these service desks that these HR functions hold, right?
Right. Hmm.
So what we've done there is, we've built a chatbot which is like an employee helper, HR helper chatbot, which can help with simple things like how many days of leave are left. Earlier, you would have imagined that that is available in a HRMS application where somebody is logging in
Right.
into a HRMS application, finding out. And then let's say they find that there's a problem with the leave, or they want to know something more about it, they might have to log into another application.
True.
Whereas as a human, my natural tendency is to find out what my leave balance is. And
Hmm.
then if I have something about, if I think that I want to apply a leave immediately, I should be able to immediately progress.
Sure.
This can be a chat conversation itself, where there's a question and then there is a task. So these things can be combined together into one application. That's the HR persona.
Sure.
So it can connect to HRMS applications, it can connect to CRM applications, it can also connect to the service desks where you can raise incidents about any HR request you might have, right?
Got it.
Another case study will be, in fact, a very popular one is where we are seeing the frontline support for IT is being, pretty much being delegated to an IT help desk chatbot. What that does is primarily it acts as like a front end for your ITMS application, right?
Mhm.
Let's say you have ServiceNow as your ITMS application. So instead of really going into ServiceNow to raise a request, you can actually ask a bunch of questions which can help troubleshoot your problem yourself.
Right.
And as well as once if you still want to go ahead, talk to an agent, the chatbot will transfer the context onto a human agent who can help you. Or if you want to raise an incident or a new case, you can actually raise it in a your ITMS application via a chatbot. So
Sure.
this is the IT help desk chatbot persona that we are seeing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Intranet chatbots, if you see, they are almost like a companion to your intranets that are available on, let's say, your enterprise channels like Skype for Business or on the intranet website itself, where things like, supposing I go in intranet, there's a lot of pages, there are department pages, there are content with respect to announcements, news, birthdays, anniversaries, there are a whole lot of things happening there. It's not possible for all the changing content to appear in front of the user with the way in which the web applications limitations are. So
Right.
you could simply implement things like what's new, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the intranet chatbot will tell you, go through the entire intranet, get you the necessary updates for the employee.
Sure.
You can also ask for, let's say, get me the HR policy. If it's there in the repository available on your intranet, then you can actually easily get that through the chatbots. So these
Right.
are some of the standard use cases of intranet chatbots, right?
Yeah.
Finally, we have seen business intelligence chatbots, which are data insights chatbots, very useful for sales of field sales employees. For example, we have implemented a sales field sales chatbot
Mm-hmm.
for one CPG company where the sales personals on the field,
Mm-hmm.
when they go to meet their customers, they need to have certain data items of the report available then and there, and that needs to be latest and updated. So typically what they do is they take an email, they carry it, and that can be outdated, or the email might not have come, or they might have forgotten to notice the email. Instead, when they are talking to their customers, they can actually chat with the chatbot and ask, what's the current listed price, or how much of discount can I give to this particular customer, what is the status of the inventory. You can ask these questions then and there to the chatbot on the standard channels, and they will get the answer for that. WhatsApp, regular Skype, and also the enterprise channels like Skype for Business are some of the famous channels with this chatbot. Yeah, so that's some of the examples, if
Awesome.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I mean, looks like you're doing a lot of work, almost on almost every single persona that you've mentioned.
Yeah, we are delivering a lot of these chatbots to many of the Fortune 500 companies, and yeah, and they're already seeing the benefits.
That's awesome. So, if an organization wants to actually get started, wants to define a persona for their own internal use, how do you think they should get started? What are the different possible measures they should take?
This is a standard question we keep getting from most of the companies that are trying to start this journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
As again, stating from experience, right? First is identify. I've mentioned many personas and use cases, right?
Right.
Identify that use case which has an ROI or a
Mm-hmm.
benefit that you can derive if the chatbot is correctly implemented, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely the step number one. Without really thinking what's the long term and things like that, the
Right.
first step will be to just identify that, who is that pilot, what is that pilot use case,
Sure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead and implement it, because through that implementation you will ascertain the choice of technology, you will ascertain what is the methodology involved in implementing a chatbot.
Right.
You'll also understand what does it take in terms of content, in terms of commitment from the company side that is required for implementing a chatbot. Once that is done, right,
Mm-hmm.
what we have seen is people go through and, in an agile iterative way, implement, enhance the further use cases on the chatbot,
Hmm.
start using that chatbot to market it to other departments to demonstrate the benefit, and thereby then getting to a more well-informed bot strategy, right?
Got it.
Where do you want to have multiple personas? Do you want to have one single persona? Do you want to have a concierge chatbot which will have other chatbots working as almost like a child chatbots
Hmm.
working with them? Technology has evolved to define these kind of strategies now,
Sure.
and like for example, Microsoft bot framework that is released v4 version, it kind of gives you an option to kind of create a concierge chatbot, and that can actually talk to many chatbots within the organization, so that from an employee standpoint they're not confused as to which chatbot to talk to.
Right.
So yeah, that's how you could get started and then evolve.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for all those insights, Jagan. Um, you know, this was definitely insightful for almost all the organizations that are possibly planning to get started with improving their employee experience, and obviously trying to get into those top tier companies that always provide better employee engagement and experience. So, once again, thanks for taking your time out for this podcast, and we possibly will be doing more podcasts in the future, and we'd love to have you on one of them.
Sure, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome.